What's good, guys? Braden here, and today I'm going to be telling the story of my own personal fear and loathing in Las Vegas. It's not quite as crazy as the movie, but it is pretty damn crazy. Alright, so whenever this happened, I was homeless. I've been homeless several times in my life. This wasn't even the most recent time I was homeless, but I was homeless, didn't even have a car or a place to sleep, obviously, because I'm homeless, but I didn't have a car or anything. And I've never had a car, actually. I've never had a driver's license. I never learned to drive, but that's a little interesting fact about me that you now know. But, okay, so basically, yeah, I was homeless, and instead of looking for a place to live, I was a degenerate. I was looking for some box, and I was scrolling on Tinder, and I was looking for a chick. So I matched with this chick. We'll call her Sydney because she looked like Sydney Sweeney. You can call me a liar. You could say there's no way you could pull a chick that bad. I don't care. I'll probably get comments like that. But I swear on everything that's holy, it's true. I'm obviously not the GOAT of attractiveness, but I am a pretty decently good looking dude. So every now and again, I am able to pull, a 10 out of 10. It's been known to happen. But basically, this chick tells me she wants to meet up with me. Now, she lives in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is an hour and a half away from where I live. I live in southern Utah, the southwestern corner, like right in the tri-state area of Utah, Arizona, and Nevada. That's where I live. So it's an hour and a half away, and I'm gonna take like a Greyhound type bus to get there because, like I said, I don't have a car. Now, between my city and Las Vegas, there is literally nothing but desert. Just desert, miles and miles and miles of desert. Except for one little tiny town called Mesquite, Nevada. And my plan was to stop there, get a room for the night, because they have cheap rooms. They have like $20 rooms there. $20 per night. Cheap rooms. And I was going to clean up, get looking nice, start smelling good so I don't smell like unwashed hobo. And then I was going to continue on my journey. So that's what I do. I get on the Greyhound, I go to Mesquite, and the hotel is connected to a casino. So what does my dumbass do? I gamble. And I bet on baseball because it was the middle of the summer and it's the only sport going on. Guys, I never win at baseball, ever. I think I've won one baseball bet in my entire life. Okay, so I lose all my money. No money. And I only bought a one-way ticket. My plan was to buy another ticket back when I got to Vegas, but I had no money, so I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I guess I'll figure it out. I'll fly by the seat of my pants. Looking back on it, I was such a dumbass because I had a job too at that time. I wasn't just a homeless bum. I mean, I was a homeless bum, but I wasn't just a homeless bum. I was a gainfully employed American. And I worked at a warehouse, Family Dollar Distribution Center. And this was over a weekend when I went to go see this chick, and I had to be back to work by Monday. So I'm like, I better find a way back. But I thought, I'll just figure it out. So I go there, and as I gamble all my money away, and as I'm chilling in my hotel room, this chick texts me, and she's like, hey, can we FaceTime? I was like, yeah, sure. Because honestly, I wanted to verify that she wasn't a catfish too. I didn't ask her to FaceTime. She asked me to FaceTime. So I'm like, that's a good sign. So we FaceTime, and she's exactly who she looks like. She looks like her pictures. She looks hot. She looks like Sydney Sweeney. And so I'm like, damn, okay, cool. I'm pretty excited for this then. But she tells me, she's like, listen, I'm not completely over my ex. And so I just want this to be a no strings attached type of thing. And that's something I probably wouldn't do today, but back in those days I was like, okay, bet, yeah, I'm down to just, hook up. And so yeah, I traveled to the rest of the way to Las Vegas the following day. I end up meeting up with her. She picks me up. She's exactly who she says she is. And the thing about this girl is she had her own place. She had her own house because her sister owned the house and gave her cheap rent. So we had the house to ourselves. Obviously, what's gonna happen is gonna happen, you know, devil emoji. And, but she told me before we met up, she was a major pothead. She's like, I am a major stoner. I love to smoke weed. That's like one of my favorite things to do. But she was 20 at the time. I was 24, I believe. Yeah, 24. So she couldn't go in the dispensaries because it's like a bar. You have to be 21 and up to even go in. There's like people that stand by the door of these dispensaries and like check your ID. So she's like, you're gonna be the one that has to go in and buy the weed. And I was like, yeah, sure. So we pull up to this dispensary, we go in, and she hands me a bunch of money and just tells me, yeah, go in and get it. And she's like, you can get whatever you want and also get this, this, and this. She gave me a list, but then she said you could get whatever you want with the leftover money. So I said, okay, cool. I go in there, I get it, and we have a shit ton of weed, like a shit ton of weed. And I come back out and we go to her place and we smoke. She has a gravity bong. If you don't know what those are, those things will get you fucked up, like put you in another dimension fucked up. So I do that and immediately I'm feeling it. Like I'm high off my gourd. And we're at her place and basically, you know, we start kissing and one thing leads to another, and well, I can't say on YouTube, but we hooked up. Essentially, that's what you need to know. And she told me she liked to be like choked. I don't know what it is with girls these days. All of them like to be choked. I don't know why. Like you'd be hard pressed to find a girl who doesn't want to be choked. And so I put my hand around her throat and immediately I feel like her body tense up. She's like, you know, like tenses up. And I'm like, this bitch must think I'm like Ted Bundy or something. She must think I'm about to go Ted Bundy mode. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I don't want to scare her. But like immediately I could just feel her body like tense up when I did that. I'm like, do I seem like a creepy serial killer? Is that the vibe I give off? Apparently. So basically we do the deed, and we're just chilling and hanging out afterwards, and we're watching Pineapple Express, which is a perfect movie to watch when you're stoned. But the weird part about this whole situation is that like an uncomfortable silence kind of started to fall over the room. We weren't talking to each other. We weren't saying anything to each other. We were just kind of sitting in silence. And it was at that point that I realized I kind of don't really vibe with this girl, like on an interpersonal level. So I'm like, okay, but I might as well have fun while I'm in Vegas, right? So I say, hey, Sydney, do you want to go to the Strip? And she's like, yeah, sure. The Las Vegas Strip. Do you want to go to the Las Vegas Strip? She's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, cool. And on the way there, she's like, do you want to go by Raising Cane's, which is a restaurant? It's like a fast food place. I was like, yeah, sure. And while we're there, she gets a call from her friend, this other girl named Ashley. Obviously, that's not her real name. I don't even remember this girl's real name, to be honest with you, but we'll just call her Ashley. That's just the name I made up in my head, in my noodle. And so we pick up this girl named before we pick up this girl named Ashley, Sydney drops like a bombshell on me. She's like, she's not just a friend, she's a girl I actually used to hook up with. And I was like, okay, that I had no clue you were bi. I had no clue, but cool, I guess. I mean, I don't really give a fuck, but cool, I guess. And so we pick this other girl up, and I kind of start to feel like a third wheel. Like they're talking, but they're not really acknowledging me. So I'm like, this is hella weird. But I'm also kind of overthinking things too, because I'm stoned. So I'm overthinking. And so we go and get Raising Cane's, but I don't got no money, remember. I don't have no money. So I just tell her, I was like, actually, I'm not that hungry, but I'll, you could just get whatever you want, whatever. And I think she knew what was up. She knew I was broke or something. She didn't know I was homeless, by the way. She didn't know. Obviously, I didn't tell her that information, because what girl's gonna wanna, hook up with a hobo, you know what I mean? So I didn't tell her that I was homeless. So she's like, do you not have any money, sweetheart? I was like, you know what, I just paid rent. I'm low on funds. And she looked at me like with the look that you would give like a starving dog, like this pity look. She gave me like a pity look, and she's like, oh, sweetheart, I'll buy you food. Dude, it does not feel good to be pitied. It does, especially by an attractive woman. It does not feel good to be pitied. I look back on that and I cringe so hard, dude. But she bought me food, and then we're going to the strip, but she is so high, she cannot figure out how to get to the strip. And I'm like, homegirl, this is your hometown. This is your home city. How do you not know how to get to the strip? She's like, I don't know, it's just been a while. I haven't been there. And so eventually her friend Ashley has to pee, so we stop at a gas station, and her friend Ashley goes inside, but her friend Ashley's like taking forever. And so while we're just sitting there in awkward silence, I say, yo, listen, Sydney, I think you're cool and everything, but I don't think we really mesh. I don't think our personalities mesh. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, we don't mesh. That's what I mean. And she's like, I don't know what you mean by mesh. And I was like, we don't get along. We're not like compatible. And she's like, what does that mean? And I was like we're not made for each other. We're not like, I don't see a point in continuing this. And she's like, okay, so do you want me to just drop you back off at the bus station? And I was like, truth be told, you probably already know this, but I'm broke. I'm just gonna hitchhike home. And she's like, okay, do you want me to drop you off at the exit ramp? I was like, yeah, sure. Well, we're both really stoned, like I said. She does not drop me off at the exit ramp. She drops me off in the middle of the desert with nothing around except for just one solitary lone gas station. This is like the outskirts of Vegas where nothing is around. Okay, so she drops me off at the gas station. There's nothing around for miles and miles and miles but desert and this one solitary gas station. Before she drops me off, she gives me all the remainder of the weed. There was a bunch of edibles, a bunch of flour, like bags and bags packed of weed. Like, she just gives it to me. She's just like, here you go, you can keep it. Super sweet girl, super sweet. But once she drops me off and drives away, I start to realize I don't have anything to drink and I don't have anything to eat except for weed edibles. And I'm hungry. I just ate Raising Cane's, but I was still hungry. So I start to eat these weed edibles, which is making me more and more high. And I sit down at this gas station on the curb, and it takes me all of 2 minutes to get kicked off the property because you can't loiter. They don't want people loitering there, especially dirty homeless people. So I start walking, just walking into the desert. And sooner or later, the sun sets. And I'm like, I gotta lay down for the night. And I had my backpack with me. I took my backpack on this date. Literally, I looked like a homeless person. Like, I think she kind of picked up on, this girl, Sydney, picked up on the fact that I was homeless, and that's why she treated me so nicely. But basically, I sit down, I lay down, I put my bag on the ground, and I lay my head back. And I just stare at the stars, and I'm like, I need to figure out a way home. That's priority number one. But I start to hear this rattle, like a rattling sound, and I'm paranoid because I'm high. So I start to think it's like a snake or like a rattlesnake that's gonna bite me as soon as I fall asleep. So because of that, I can't fall asleep, and I was paranoid. And honestly, that's not a completely irrational fear either, because there are a lot of rattlesnakes in the desert. You know, the desert of Las Vegas and the desert of southern Utah. There's a lot of snakes. And so I start to get paranoid, and I'm trying to focus on these videos I'm watching on my phone, but I can't because I'm so paranoid. But I make it through the night, no snake bit me, which is good. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I decide, with the little phone battery I have left, I'm just gonna call my parents. And my parents at that time were not really willing to give me too much money because they knew I was like into drugs and stuff, and they didn't want to fund that. It took some convincing, but they eventually relented, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you some money for a bus ticket, or buy you a bus ticket is what they said. We'll buy you a bus ticket. So they called into the bus station and bought me a bus ticket, but they wouldn't give me money to get to the bus station. They're like, you're on your own. I don't know why. That's kind of like an arbitrary line to draw. But they're like, yeah, we're not gonna get you away to like a taxi cab or nothing. So I pull out my phone and I call an Uber. And by the grace of God, even though I had no money, an Uber came. I don't know how, but an Uber came. And it was this like Russian guy. He had a thick Russian accent. I can't do Russian accents, but you can picture it in your head. And he starts off by asking me some normal questions. Oh, you from out of town? Yeah. You just visiting? Yeah. Did you have fun? Yeah. But then he starts to ask kind of a little bit more weird questions. He's like, were you here for a girl? I was like, yeah. And he's like, did you get some box? He didn't say box, but he said the P-U-S-S-Y word, which I can't say on YouTube because YouTube's rules. And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, well, tell me about it. Was she hot? And I was like, yeah. And then he starts asking like what positions, and he starts asking me like really weird personal questions, like really strange questions. And like he starts going into detail, like he wants me to like describe to him the positions, and he's wants me to describe to him my fetishes and stuff. This dude was the weirdest Russian motherfucker ever. Probably a Russian spy. That's probably why he was asking all these questions. But he drops me off at the bus station. I get on the bus and I go home still high. I was high for the next 2 days because of the amount of edibles I ate because I was so hungry. I was high when I came home for the next 2 days. Anyway, that's about it for that story. But yeah, I used to put myself in the most horrible situations ever. But yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you have not already, and consider becoming a channel member. And also comment for the algorithm too. Peace out.